Okay, so I chose to do chapter 15, which is titled Interviewing Principles and Practices. And this chapter was about the interviews and what is appropriate in interviews and how you should prepare for interviews and all that fun stuff. And so, one of the first things it talks about is establishing a relationship with your sources. And I think it's really important that we establish relationships with our sources, but they need to stay professional and not be too personal. Um, then it goes into interviewing tips, which I actually found super useful this semester because I had to do a lot more interviews than I ever did in my entire life. So, um, it started to talk about anonymous sources and things like that and going off the record. And when you're going off the record, it's important to know that you have to establish that you're off the record first. And that's something that was talked about. And you're not always supposed to just give sources anonymity without, a serious reason for it. And this is actually something that ties a lot into today's political climate because of this fun book. This book rose a lot of political questions and journalism questions because Trump claimed to be off the record, but Michael Wolff established that he never actually gave Trump off the record privilege, and Trump never asked to be off the record, and somebody should never assume that they're off the record when they're talking to a journalist, and I think that's really important. So, social media, next part 2. Social media plays a really big role in journalism, and there's a lot of talk right now about fake news and how, people use social media to spread this fake news. And I actually think that this is really interesting because I literally just yesterday made a fake news article about how I'm the Dave Matthews Band new their new violinist. So, and people believed it. So that was interesting. It was a joke. And I used a social media platform to spread that, and they believed me. And so I did a little experiment right there. um, yeah, the social media, it affects news organizations because news is spread so quickly now, and you don't have to wait until the next day's, publication in order to read the news. It just pops up, like right then and there. And I think that it allows a lot more time or a lot more room to make mistakes too, just because you can now just post something like that and you don't have to do as much reviewing as you would have beforehand, before social media, and when like there was a daily publication and things like that, or a weekly publication. So yeah, and it also helps because you can get a story out a lot faster, so if there is a breaking news story, the people don't have to wait until the next day in order to hear about it. They can just go right ahead and get on their phones and hear about it super duper fast. If for next semester, I would tell a student taking Journalism 301 to be prepared to report a lot because I wasn't prepared for that. No one told me. And it's okay, but I just had no idea that there was going to be so much like outside work. And I would just warn a student who was going to take the class that they will have to go to a lot of events, interview people. I also think it was super helpful that you told us when to request off work for these things, because a lot of people don't. And then I end up not being able to go because I have to work or something like that. So I think that was super helpful that you did that for us at the beginning of the semester. So that is my final project, and I hope you enjoyed my video.
Thank you.